Hello, comic book fans. Today we're talking about Darkness Issue 3. This is a reboot on the entire Darkness series with some of the same creators behind it. And this is Issue 3. Now, a few things I want to get into is it's a more detailed origin story. The original, it was very, I wouldn't say it wasn't detailed as well, but this one's going more in depth on everything, the world, the characters, the darkness itself. And this story starts off with, he meets the cult again and the cult leader, and he takes him to where they will be staying and pretty much, laying out the groundwork for what is going to happen. And we get a lot more in depth and lore and character development behind the Angelus and these so-called angels, and we get more behind them and their mentality in a way, and it's a lot more sinister. This story does a lot better with just letting you know how twisted the Angelus are. And this is a very interesting part of the story because they're pretty much at this dinner, right? They're eating, and it's still midday if I'm correct. And Jackie Estacado's asking questions about what's the darkness and what does it have to do with me. And they've also implemented, the character Jenny in the journey of the darkness. And he's pretty much explaining to Jackie, what the darkness is, what it means, and what you can do with it, giving him the full rundown, of this new power, of this new journey he's going to be going on. And Jenny is along for the ride. They didn't do this in the original, at least within the first few issues. Jenny wasn't there for some of the stuff that they're now placing her in, and she's playing a much larger part within the overall story. And as it was dark, you start to see the darkness creatures behind Jackie Estacado, and that's when the cult leader hits the light. Because it's just as simple as light can, beat the power of the darkness. And within this, store, within how complex this is, light is still plays its part, but also the darkness, they give you a lot more insight on it itself, earlier within the actual story. And as Jenny's trying to call her family, because if you were there for the last issue, Jackie just got done fighting off the Angelus and they're hiding out here. And as she's explaining to Jackie, and Jackie's pretty much explaining to him, he doesn't trust this guy all the way, but he doesn't have a choice because if he goes anywhere else, he's going to end up nuke or Jenny's going to end up dead. And he leaves Jenny there with the cult so he can go take care of other businesses. This is the part of the story that I find absolutely insane. So Jackie goes off to deal with the Russians because earlier within the series, the Russians nearly took out, his uncle and killed a lot of other people because they're trying to move in on their turf. Well, in this, in this retelling of the story, Jackie Estacado runs through there like the juggernaut with the darkness and ends up nuking the Russians. And how they, play this out panel by panel, it turns into a horror story, at least for the Russians, because Jackie in this series has a lot better hold on the darkness earlier and quicker. Jackie knows how to operate with the darkness, and he uses it to his advantage, and he takes out the Russians and pretty much the threat, the gang war, and using his powers to that. They also did this within the original series, but they did it in a lot different way. They didn't mind going more all out and more flashy within, this new rebooted, and we get this nice panel, and he is not a hero. I feel like this is the panel, right? This is the book, and this is, the panel on the pages to let you know Jackie Estacado is not a hero or an anti-hero. I wouldn't even call him villain. He's something completely different because he was already part of the mob pulling off hits, and now he has this darkness, this power within him, and he's using it to his using it to his advantage. And we see these panels where he's just killing and he's just taking people out and pretty much feeding into the darkness side. And he executes and takes out the Russian threat. They're not messing with this guy anymore, at least anytime soon. Maybe they'll try to run it back in the future, but definitely not now. And we see that the darkness, and by him doing that, it messes with him, right? It messes with his mental and his spirit even after he is done. And it just shows that it takes a lot out of him. And we get this part, these panels where he's talking to his uncle, and it's very heartfelt, right? But you still cannot get over what he just did before. Again, Jackie Estacado and the Darkness are not heroes or even anti-heroes. He is more close to a villain than anything else. He's more towards a villain with at least some set of morals, I would say, right? He's a villain with morals, right? He's not going to, hurt Jane or anything else, but he has pulled off hits. And then after he's done with that, he goes by Jenny's house to check on her family, and the Angeles already got there and they kill her entire family. And that is the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching this video. Like, share, subscribe for more, and thank you for watching.